We were talking about the whole AI-powered applications, and I think that seems to be the theme of 2025. How do you define AI-powered applications?
Is any software program that behind the scene is using AI. We have to remember that 5 years ago, people said AI and they meant totally different algorithms.
So what is AI native then?
AI is becoming the value for the customer and not just a side effect. When we say AI native, we mean all these softwares that are built around AI and not AI added around the product. Code is shipped much faster. You have an AI agent writing 10,000 lines of code in a few minutes. Attackers are faster, you need to defend faster. This opens a new world of attacks.
What are some of the new kinds of security challenges that are being seen?
Your model can read a website on the internet during an operation and decide that it want to hack your organization because someone convinced it. You can't have 100% coverage. What if I gave to my AI access to sensitive information? Can I really trust that it won't tell it to my customers? The answer is probably not.
Is there a regulation around this coming up?
There's nothing major. We mainly see the licensing issue. Now you have two kinds of licenses. You have the model license and then you have the data license. Don't trust the AI models that you develop in the organization. Take a zero trust perspective on it. Assume that any AI-based software is going to be breached. And then try to understand how do you find it the fastest and how do you minimize the impact when it happens.
If you have been on both sides of building product security, whether it's cloud security, AppSec security, you probably are noticing AI is changing a lot of that. Software development lifecycle is not the same anymore. It's evolved to have a lot more AI capability, or AI powered as people want to call it sometimes. So in this episode, I had Amit Chita from Men.io who spoke about the AI powered application world and how that's changing the SDLC as we know it. Now, the traditional challenges for AppSec have not really gone away, but for people like us who have been on both sides of the fence, on both the, hey, I am doing AppSec and CloudSec for the company, we're probably are noticing the fact that now you have issues around not just open source libraries, but you also have licensing issues with models that you have to consider. You have to consider AI security specific threats that come into the play. All that and a lot more in this episode with Amit. If you found this valuable, and if other people who are working in this SDLC world for what AI security threats are evolving and where this would go, where you could potentially have agents doing the security bidding for you, definitely share this episode with them. And as always, if you have been watching or listening Cloud Security podcast episodes for a while, I would really appreciate if you can take a second to give some support by dropping a follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple, if that's where you're listening to us on, or subscribe or follow on YouTube and LinkedIn, where you might be watching this video as well. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot. And I look forward to creating more relevant episodes for how cloud AI and AppSec are evolving as we move into this new world. Thank you so much for your support and enjoy this episode with Amit, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cloud Security Podcast. Today I've got Amit. Thanks for coming on the show, Amit. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for hosting me. I'm glad to be here.
Maybe to set the context first, if you can share a bit about yourself, a bit of your background, what have you been doing in tech for some time?
Hi, everyone. I'm Amit Chita. I'm in Mend. I'm the field CTO of the company. I came to Mend after Mend bought my company, Atom Security. We were in the scanning of container space. We did prioritization for vulnerabilities and things in these areas. Before that, I had some background in engineering, in venture capital, but here I am today, very deep into the security space. So glad to be here. Yeah,
awesome. We were talking about the whole AI-powered applications, and I think that seems to be the theme of 2025. Maybe just to set some context, because I think there's a lot of confusion in the market as well. So how do you define AI-powered applications, at least in 2025?
So AI-powered application is any software program that behind the scene is using AI. When people say AI, they usually mean either a large language model or a neural network, and not any algorithm, right? Some automatically learning algorithm, machine learning algorithm. Today, of course, with the trends, it's mostly Gen AI, LLMs, but it doesn't have to be only that.
All right. So you mean the traditional machine learning that has been there for a long time and now somehow seems to be been taken over by the Gen AI of the world. Now, when people talk about Gen AI, they just say AI. They don't really say Gen AI anymore.
Exactly. So when we say today AI, we think of a certain thing, but we have to remember that 5 years ago, people said AI and they meant totally different algorithms and totally different software.
which is more than chatbots, I guess.
More than chatbots and usually financial algorithms or
All right.
optimizations of some sorts.
So what is AI native then? Because it's obviously the whole AI powered applications, AI native applications. What's the difference there then?
AI native basically means that like we've been to this transition where a lot of the value that we give to people in software is instead of like an algorithm of if or else becomes AI, which means that the AI decides what to do, it decides what answer to give you. In security space, it might be that the remediation of vulnerabilities is with AI, the detection is with the AI. In different companies, AI is becoming the value for the customer and not just a side effect. So I believe when we say AI native, we mean all these softwares that are built around AI and not AI added around the product.
Oh, right. Okay. So to your point, then, like the same applications we have worked with, and maybe let's just say a banking example, internet banking has been there for a long time. And now if you add AI capability to it, that's now AI powered application.
Exactly.
And what about the software development lifecycle? Because I guess that's been your area of focus for some time. How has the software development lifecycle changed from a security perspective between this world of AI powered, AI native, and wherever this is going?
So if you think about it, first principles, there's real developers, right? And then now we have AI developers or real developers enhanced with AI. The main differences is a speed and the scale. Code is shipped much faster. Sometimes you have an AI agent writing a full 10,000 lines of code in a few minutes. So the scale of everything you're doing, it's become faster. You need to test faster. You need to be more explicit because you're using a generalist AI to write your code. You don't train yet your models to be secure in your organization. So you need also to be more strong around that. And also that's mainly the change, but the SDLC stays the same in the sense that you still got a pull request. Just now it's created by AI maybe, or most of the code is created. You still have review, but the review is made by AI. And the deployment is the same, right? You still have a CI that takes it, build the code, put it in production. These parts are more likely the same and on existing trends also of infrastructure as code. It's been there already even before the AI revolution.
Interesting. So what are some of the components you're seeing in some of the AI-powered applications that you guys are working with or talking with in terms of, I guess, what is, like to your point, software development lifecycle still has a CI/CD pipeline, still has someone who's doing a pull request, still some kind of GitHub, GitLab somewhere. So what's the AI components in this now?
So first, you have all the Cursor and Windsurf and all the IDEs.
Yeah.
And on quotes, because it's not really IDEs anymore. It's agents that write codes, they write modules. So you have all of these, then you have all the tools that do reviews, security reviews, or either general code reviews. I think there's a Rabbit and a few others. So these are the components that mainly use AI within the SDLC. And of course, now the code that the developers are writing, they're adding libraries that use AI. They're adding AI into the code, APIs to OpenAI, Vertex, Azure, AWS, Bedrock. So the software itself is now full with AI inside it. It's a bit changed how we test it. So the testing might be a bit different because in order to test AI, you need AI. Because if you can give any text to your software now and it will just respond, so you need some AI to generate tons of text messages to your systems to test them.
Yeah.
So the testing strategy changed a bit, but these are the general changes that we see right now. But of course, we don't know. Everything is very early. In a year from now, I guess we'll see what will happen.
Yeah. Did you find that? I love the example of Cursor and IDE because almost like obviously this is creating a bit of tension in how traditionally AppSec has done. And traditionally there is a SAST, there is an SCA, there are components that are well known and have been defined by the industry for a long time. Is that changing as well with this? Or is it more the volume of it has changed? Like what's changing there?
So I personally believe it's only the volume that is changing. So the goal of AppSec, whether it's a SCA, SAST, container scanning, it's to be the gateway between the development to the production. For the security person, it's the way to define policies of what they approve and what they don't approve.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't approve any package that has critical vulnerability that is known in the internet. So great, you still want to have these guardrails with AI. Even now, it's more important because you ship more code and you ship it faster and you need the test to become faster.
Yeah.
There's some things that becomes different. So for example, maybe remediations are a bit less important because the AI knows by itself how to remediate. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you can still guide it how to remediate, and that becomes helpful. So SCA, SAST, container scanning, they all still needed. You need to do them now faster. So speed is important, and you need to make it accessible to the agents that you use so they'll be able to debug the issues and solve it themselves.
Yeah.
Also, something that is interesting is that security people can now be more strict. And what do I mean by that is that you can't be too strict with a real developer or person because they won't have the energy to go and fix tons of security issues.
Yeah.
But AI will. So we're going to see stricter policies over time in security, and it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Oh, actually, that's a good point. I didn't even think about this until you mentioned it, because normally the tension also comes from the fact that if I, as a CloudSec or an AppSec person, find something which is something a developer has to go and fix and put a pull request, I only have two options. Either I can beg, borrow from that person to go, hey, can you please fix this? Or I just make the change myself and submit as a pull request and hope that I did the job and that did not screw up any tests, so they can still just simply merge the request. But to your point, if agents are doing this, you should be able to do a lot more with it and maybe just write a prompt. The promised land before AI became a thing or Gen AI became a thing was, hey, I find all these vulnerabilities in your code, whether it's ISE, SCA, open source libraries, whatever. It always stopped at the part where I give you the information on a dashboard, and that's the end of it. And now it's up to Ashish to go and figure out which developer, how do I fix it, can I convince them or not? So you're saying with agents, because now it's not just the developers, but the agents producing it, is it because there's more time on the end of the developer, or is it because more agents are producing pull requests or reviewing pull requests that there is an opportunity for us to be stricter in terms of, hey, we can be much more good with our security hygiene in an AI world?
Yeah, I'll break down this question. I'll start by saying that we can think of the AI agents as some sort of a function that will eventually just take a task. At least the coding agents, they will take a task and will generate a pull request out of it with a feature implemented. And we'll have also an agent that will take a pull request and will output a review. And they will have some cycle between them. And the moment that we start to automate these cycles, all that security tools are doing in the repository is generating issues for you, security issues, security findings. And these findings just need to have enough metadata and information so the agent will be able to fix it. And that's how the cycle is going to work. So maybe you'll still have recommendation on how to fix something, and you'll still have the dashboard, but the agent will be able to get this recommendation and to read the ticket and to try to implement it. And then there will be a new scan that will tell it, oh, now the problem is solved, and the agent will be able to deploy it. Of course, we're not fully there yet, but that's where it's going. Today, it might be the developer telling Cursor, listen, I got this security issue, copy pasting the ticket into a Cursor. Then they see, oh, now everything is great, or maybe they need to fix some tests, but this process is going to be automated. So definitely you can be more strict. AI doesn't care if you give it 20 security issues. Depends, it might, but currently we know how to get it to do more work than a person will agree to do.
Interesting. So what about the existing SDLC, the traditional AppSec challenges that have existed? As I agree, your future state is very promising. Where we are today at the moment, there's a lot of questions about AI, obviously, to what you said, is becoming a huge part of SDLC. What are some of the new kinds of security challenges that are being seen on top of the existing challenges we already know with SCA, SAST, and everything? Like, what's the specific challenges to AI that's coming up that you're seeing?
Okay, so I like to divide it into two parts, right? Because there's traditional security, but now in an AI era, which what we talked about now, that only means that everything becomes faster. attackers are faster, you need to defend faster. These are the challenges in this space. But then there's all the applications that have AI inside.
Yeah.
And this opens a new world of attacks, a new world of security that you need, compliance, everything. You have like now new licensing for models. You have a prompt injection. Your model can read a website on the internet during operation and decide that it want to hack your organization because someone convinced it. So there's like extreme ways, new ways to attack you, to manipulate your organization. And now you need to defend that, and you need to test that, and you need to do it in a process that doesn't exist in most organizations. How do you test an AI model like that can process any text, right? How do you can't test all the scenarios? You can't have 100% coverage. So these areas are really changing. Also, how do you guardrail? What if I gave to my AI access to sensitive information? Can I really trust that it won't tell it to my customers?
Yeah.
So, by the way, the answer is probably not. So don't do it, or try to convince your developers, if you're a security person, not to do it, or put some mitigation strategy or a way to detect that.
Yeah, because I think I do want to double click on something here, because you mentioned licensing. And as someone who's implemented an AppSec program before, the first time I was hearing, like, oh, by licensing, you mean open source libraries and wonderful. But you opened I guess you basically brought up a conversation about the licensing in the world of AI is a bit more complicated than just open source libraries. Could you expand that a bit as well?
Yes, definitely. So first, now you have two kinds of licenses. You have the model license, and then you have the data license, which is a bit of gray area legally that no one knows how to deal with. And in addition to that, there's new licenses that popped up. For example, the Llama model that everyone is using, each of them have a bit of a different license, and Facebook, Meta added some weird stuff into it. So for example, if you have 500 million users, then you can't use the model. Also, there's in a lot of these licenses, there are weird things that we are not used to. For example, the license owner can decide tomorrow to change the license, and it is backward compatible in certain licenses. So they can decide that you can't use the model anymore. So you need to understand which models you can rely on, which you can't rely on. Of course, there's the ones that still have MIT license, which is great. We love it. But there's a lot of hidden ones, and it's always not fun. No one likes to look at a license before they use a software package, software module. No one does it. So someone needs to be the bad cap to tell them, you can't do it. And yeah.
So is there a clear definition is it clearly advertised for, hey, our model uses this particular license? Or like the model, you mentioned the model license, the data license. So if I go on, I don't know, I'm just going to use example of OpenAI. If I go on OpenAI, would it actually clearly say we are not MIT licensed, so you're paying for usage? I'm obviously making an example. I don't know if it's a good example, but is that how it works?
So let's look on all the combinations, right? You have closed source models like OpenAI.
Yeah.
There you want to care about the terms of use and privacy policy. You want to see that they don't take your data and sell it to a third party or whatnot. So you have providers such as OpenAI, it can be Azure, it can be AWS, Google Vertex. You need to know their privacy policy terms of license. Then you have all the open source models. Either if you use the open source models hosted on AWS or you download it yourself, they have a license coming with them, both for the data and both for the model.
Yeah.
Also, there's variations where, for example, Meta, when they launched Llama, they didn't publish which data they trained on. So you don't really have a data license. But no one also, probably they didn't do it because there's some things there that maybe are gray or they shouldn't have, or they don't want to be legally binding to that. But you have only model license and not data license. Anywhere here in this combination. So if you're using only closed like source models, mainly the provider's terms of use and user agreement is what you need to care for.
Because I think that opens up another, because I'm thinking about not just the AppSec people, but CloudSec people who have been creating pipelines, SDLCs, and a lot of them initial concern was more around the fact that, hey, I don't want the developers to be using a LLM that we don't approve of. To your point, Cursor is maybe it's really popular, but hey, we have a license with OpenAI. We don't want to use Cursor. But the developers like, it's so cheap, I'll just pay for it myself because it's really helpful. Is that also something that's coming up in terms? And I don't know if shadow AI would be the right word in the software development lifecycle world, but is that something that you're finding is a growing problem as well?
So in our space, when you look at developers building software with AI, they usually have to get some API key.
Yeah.
So they won't pay for it themselves because they then ship it to the production and it's going to cost a lot.
Yeah.
But still, you see a lot of DevOps team or especially on small teams, you don't need a lot of approvals to get an API key. And then you use whatever is easiest, right? You use OpenAI, and then you have on OpenAI, for example, a cheaper option where they train on your data. So maybe someone just turned it on to save money, but didn't realize the security implications of that. I think in an organization, that's usually the problems when you have a code that use third-party providers.
Do you find there's a difference in security concerns for SDLC between a SMB size company versus a large organization?
Definitely. So I can give you an example that we see a lot. So when we come to a large enterprise, they have no idea what is going on. Let's imagine that you have 10,000 repos in the organization.
Yeah.
You're sitting on some security or legal team. Whether they use DeepSeek, whether they use Llama, probably they use both somewhere. You don't know where, you don't know who to talk to even, on which project. So there, the biggest problem is observability, to know what you have, to get an AIS bomb or AI bomb, bill of materials, and to understand what's going on. You're not even at the level of trying to solve issues, just trying to understand and maybe limit with some policies. And on smaller scale, maybe you just have one major AI app, maybe two, you know exactly which model it's using, and that's not a problem. The problem there is maybe someone can attack this model. Maybe I need to red team to see that it doesn't say something illegal to my customer, that it can't be exploited, that it doesn't hold sensitive information that someone can get out of it. So there, the challenge becomes, how do I do stress testing and red teaming for this model endpoint? Yeah. This is something that a large enterprise can't even focus on. They probably have tons of endpoints. They don't know yet which ones. They can't focus now on setting up tests on every one of them. They're just on the level of guidelines, policies. This is what we have. We don't allow this. Contact maybe these people to stop doing that. That's generally the difference in the issues.
Why is there a need for testing with AI? Because obviously you mentioned you spoke about this earlier in terms of testing continuously with AI, securing AI with AI. The reason I ask this question is because sometimes there's a confusion between, I already have runtime security. I don't know why I need another special one for AI. What do you find is different between a traditional security testing versus a AI-driven red teaming or test? I don't know, which one do you lean more on? Is it just AI security testing or AI red teaming? What's the difference between a traditional software doing it versus an actual AI doing it? An actual AI, not like hey, we are AI powered.
There's a very simple way I like to look at it. So I look at it as people. You can exploit people and vulnerabilities in people. You can come to a person and convince them to give you access to sensitive data of the organization. And now we've taken this problem and we put it into software. Yeah. So now there's a software that is like a person can be convinced to do bad things if it has access to. Also, like, it doesn't have consequences. It's not that it's going to get fired if you do that. And it's usually not as smart or sophisticated as a person in understanding these nuances. Yeah. So we took these problems and we put them at scale with access to all our secrets, keys, whatever APIs that we connected to the agent. Because if you have an agent that can create a user, process a payment, you can convince it to process a wrong payment, right? All this area is now getting exploited. I think that's the core of the issue. And when it comes to convincing, now you want to test, right? I want to test if I can convince my agent to do something malicious. In order to do that, you need to tailor the message, because there's no a generic, sometimes there's a generic message that works for all, but sometimes you need to tweak the model with the system prompt that it got. It maybe you need to tweak it in a different way to talk to it about things in its areas of expertise or the kind of a private data that it has, or you need to try to maliciously craft the message. So you need AI to do it. And also you need to do it at scale. And AI can take one attack and turn it into 1,000 variations. And then you can see, oh, 5% of them are working. So you can assess how security is.
And I guess they don't get tired as well. There is a whole thing where, I don't know, I had a really bad day, stuff's happening in my life, but AI doesn't really care. It just follows instructions and just does the job.
So it's kind of chaos. It actually, like, I don't know, you probably know that if you offer to give the model like $20 tip or $200 tips, it somehow performs better. But we're in the age where like it's not like a person that the next day it remembers everything. We have a frozen version of this AI brain that we query all the time, and then we reset it to the same state. I think that's part of the reason that it's so cooperative. You have one version that is cooperative that we duplicated to everyone. But I've seen already AI models that are less cooperative. So
interesting. So would you say now, if you were to look at this from the way I see this, so far what we've spoken about, there is a whole conversation about what AI is being used. There's a whole licensing conversation with model license and data license. And obviously the traditional AppSec things are still there. They're not going away. They're still there. Whether you're using scanning but testing is more important now because to what you said, there's a lot more PR requests, but the future potentially could be that we could be using agents to produce that security response to that. In terms of, I guess, how, like a lot of people may look at this as it's just chatbots to begin with, and most applications, right? I think, and we're obviously talking about AI-powered applications, which are traditional applications now that have AI capability. Do people need to update their security programs for this? I'm thinking for people who have been in the AppSec thing for a long time, have all the AppSec tools you can think in their life. They've already done CloudSec. They already have the CloudSec tools. You almost feel you have a full picture. Or is there something missing with that picture for this new world of AI in your SDLC?
So definitely. And it depends also how deep you need to go. So let's assume you have an organization that develops software without any AI in the software.
Yeah.
But you still have developers using a cursor. And so you'll still have to be more strict with your policies. You need to make sure that you have a fast enough tools that can run faster now. You need to be able to craft some security prompts to these AI IDEs to make sure that they write secure code and you can populate it within the organization. But then maybe some integration to Cursor to automatically check for vulnerabilities before inputting code. But then you have an organization that actually sell also AI to their customers, which a lot of organizations are becoming such organization, unless you may be selling, I don't know, some part of a car or some embedded IoT device. So then you need to think of all the new attack surface. So you have to adapt. You have to make sure that you check which tools, right? You review, you do a threat assessment, risk assessment to which tools you give to your agents, whether there's private information there, whether like you need to treat the licensing a bit better, but this is not security, it's more legal. Sometimes it's different teams. And you need also to test the model in runtime, both for development, right? Both for quality, you need to test that the model answers legitimate questions, but both for security. So you definitely need to adapt your program. It's not like ditching all the old stuff. You need to adapt the old stuff to be faster and to make sure it integrates in the right spots in the CI or SDLC. And then there's all the new aspects, the new attacks that you should think about, or if you're a security person, probably there's things that you don't sleep at night from. So you should think about how people might be now trying to prompt your product on the web, trying to make it call some API. And if you gave it access to call the API, they'll probably succeed eventually.
And do you feel with people updating their programs, one of the challenges apps and even, I guess, doing anything with engineering and security has been finding a balance between losing speed while still not pissing off your developers? And what have you found as that something that has worked for people to be able to still be able to find a balance between that speed and not being fully exposed. What have you found that works in this AI world?
So it's always been very complex space for us because we are a vendor of security. I'm in the space of selling security products, and I basically have three customers now. I have the developers, which hate security and don't want to use the product, but they have to. I have maybe application security teams that they want to use the product, but they want developers to use it. So they need a way to convince the developer to use it without too much of a hassle. And then there's legal teams, which a lot of time they don't even understand software that well because it's not their space, but they have to comply with certain regulations. So they also hope that the security and the development will care about it.
Yep.
So we have these three entities. And I think something that's really interesting that's happening now is that because a lot of the development is shifting to AI, fixing an issue sometimes can be closed within one AI task when it's a simple issue. And then it's only a matter of computation or time. So people are more willing to do that.
Yep.
Looking forward, I think that in a few years, it will be so automated that as a security person, you'll know exactly what is the cost for the organization to fix a vulnerability. Because, it's going to take my agent around 10 minutes. These 10 minutes work for me that and that money and pay for the products that and that. And also it slows down the development in 10 minutes. So that's how much it works for me. And then you can really prioritize. And it's no longer about convincing a person that they should do it. It becomes more tangible.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, definitely. But that's the process that is beginning now to happen, but we need to see how it evolves.
What do you think as threats then in this space? Because I think a lot of things always at least in security, boil down to, is there anything tangible that people are seeing as threats in this space to the SDLC, which is now powered by AI? Are you coming across any threats that you can share with people as well?
Definitely. There's a range of threats from like typosquatting. I hope I said it right. It's like you have malicious packages online. This is an old issue. Developers come, they can a repo and they make it malicious.
Yep.
So now you can do the same, but because AI models are so predictable, you can put which kind of mistakes Claude will do when choosing a package, a library, and inserting it into the code. And you can craft a malicious package to match this. So if you know that usually Claude will try first a different naming convention, will see it's wrong, and then will fix itself to the right package naming, you can add to NPM a new library with this naming, and then you have a new way to install malicious packages that is much more predictable. But it also comes to people actually starting to put malicious prompts online on the internet. So when you launch your product, if your product has access to a website, it reads the website, it reads the malicious prompt, it maybe say something wrong to your customers. People might just come in your chatbots, but it might be even not chatbot. It might be hidden in other features. It might be that a user can type on a button. The button takes some information that the user inputted a week ago and do some processing on it. And the user can put a prompt in this description of what they're doing for their job in LinkedIn and use that to exploit some other system that later make some decision of whether to give them money for a loan. So you can have very complex chains, but it's also the same issue that we had before, but with a larger scale.
Interesting. So the problem's a lot more in the business context, not just in the, hey, I have the SQL injection, and I like the way you presented it, because a lot of people, when they hear about this AppSec or SDLC, that it automatically their mind might go for, hey, I have SQL injection, I have, OWASP top 10 and all that. And I'm like, but what you're saying is it could be a little more complex, because the business logic connected to it could be, hey, I'm allowed to buy a car for $10 instead of whatever the regular cost of a car is these days. That's a potential impact on the revenue, rather than, hey, I've got SQL injection and my data is breached.
Exactly. I can give countless examples. There's like indirect prompt injections, if you heard of the term.
Yeah.
So it opens your mind. So let's say I have an AI agent that takes cases from Salesforce, right? Reads information from our documentation, from Slack conversations, and answers to the customer. What happens if the case of the customer is a prompt injection? Then the agent I have gets a prompt injection, and then someone gain control over it. But it can be from any point of text that is processed by an LLM.
Yeah.
So like we have this trust issue with any LLM that has any tooling or any access to any sensitive information, that we need to check. How do we do that? How do we know if a developer gave it access or not? Because we're not always in the details.
Yeah.
And now AI is developing the AI software. So maybe the AI gave access to the agent to another tooling or sensitive information that we don't know about. It becomes very hard to manage.
Yeah. Is there a regulation around this coming up, especially with software supply chain and all of that? Is there any regulation that's coming around AI?
So we're still following on it. There's nothing major that can like there's the AI, I think it's called the EU Act, but there's nothing yet that we see organizations having to deal with. We mainly see the licensing issue because this really applies right now. People that today do red teaming to their AI models, it's not because they have to by regulation, it's because they're forward thinking. It's
right. So it's not a regulatory thing that people are doing red teaming.
Exactly. It's not yet a regulatory thing. It might be probably in 2-3 years because regulations it always comes it's a bit lagging behind.
Right.
And it's good that it's lagging behind, I believe, because then it regulates only the things that after it makes sense to know what to regulate.
Right. And to your point, then maybe just to lay out a clear picture, then what we are saying is on a security program, we should probably also have red teaming. Security testing is a lot more different. We still have the traditional AppSec layer that we continue doing, what we have been doing, but have a layer of what would that look like from an AI perspective? What would that red teaming look like because when people say red teaming AI with AI, is that actually testing for SQL injection as well? Or is that just basically going for AI specific threats?
So SQL injection falls under DAST, Dynamic Application Security Testing.
Yeah.
And we can think of AI red teaming as the DAST for the AI world, where you want to just like DAST, you get a URL of a website and you try to attack it from the outside. Yeah. So in AI red teaming, we get access to prompts or AI agent or AI model, and we just try to exploit it from outside like in a black box way.
Yeah.
But there's also things that you need to do in different ways. So, for example, you need to know which models you have, whether they're malicious, whether they have known vulnerabilities or licensing or data issues. Also, then you need to detect what agents are developed within your organization and have some transparency to what tools they are using, whether you're giving it to customers. So maybe it's not okay to give the agent such tooling. So you need to be it's like security architecture. So you need to understand the architecture of your AI software to know if it's secure.
And is that basically, and because I think there's always this question of if AI is smart enough, can anyone just build it? Because apparently AI is smart, right? So can anyone just build the solution for this? Or when should people consider building versus buying something in this space?
So in general, in the security space, when you build for yourself, you take a lot of risk.
Yeah.
That you're missing stuff. And also there's a lot of things that are not cost effective to build. And it's cost effective only for companies that build it once, sell it for a lot of customers. For, let's say, for example, like licensing checks, no one wants to build their own database of what licenses are good. No one wants to pay for lawyers tons of money to understand all the licenses in the market. You want someone to do that for you and to do risk assessment for you for any new license that comes up, for any new models that comes up. It's something that you prefer to do once and just give it to everyone.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that you can do in every organization, like you can configure your cursor within the organization to have whatever security prompts or tools or limit their tooling or choose what models they use and configurations. There's a lot of work that you can do in-house that makes sense.
Interesting. I love that. But actually, I have one more question on this. And so for all the AppSec folks or people who are doing everything in their organization, including AppSec, what's the one thing you would want them to rethink in this year? I guess what's that one takeaway you want people to walk away with? Because I think they're obviously, all of them are AppSec experts, have done AppSec for a long time, or people who are doing CloudSec, AppSec together have done enough to understand OWASP Top 10, what's something about the AI world which would just like that, giving them aha moment for them?
Good question. I think I would go with don't trust the AI models that you develop in the organization. Take a zero trust perspective on it. Try not to assume that any AI-based software is going to be breached. And then try to understand how do you find it the fastest and how do you minimize the impact when it happens.
Yep.
But you have to assume that if you have a chatbot, some AI features for your customers, and if this has access to revenue data of the company or it has access to run code, that it will run eventually malicious code.
Fair point. Obviously, I would love to talk about what your current focus is as well. I think you mentioned you guys are like the AI native AppSec platform. I'm curious to know, what does AI native AppSec platform mean?
So it basically means we do AppSec, everything in AppSec, but we focus on AI in two ways. We have our main AI offering, which is security for AI. Yep. So we help you secure your AI software before it's in production. From the legal to the security aspects and everything you need to cover it so you know it's tested, it's ready for production, from detecting the model, detecting the tools that you're using, anything. So that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it is that we use AI to help you leverage your existing security. So this is what we call AI for security, right? So we'll use AI to suggest remediations for the vulnerabilities for you. And we'll use AI to find them faster and to index them better in our databases. So we'll have a most accurate database of vulnerabilities with better reachability technologies and finding the right function that is vulnerable. This is what we call AI native AppSec platform, and that's our focus. It's basically two things, right? Security for AI and AI for security.
Yeah, fair. That's most of the tech questions I have. I've got 3 fun questions for you as well. What do you spend most time on when you're not trying to solve the world of AppSec and AI security and all of that?
So what do I spend most of my time doing?
Yeah.
So I think most of my time is spending now understanding how to adapt the organization to scale or speed. The world is changing. We as a company need to change as well. We want to ship features faster, right? Help customer faster, build, support, everything. So you need to automate your own organization, right? Yeah. You want to make sure that every employee you have is 10x or 20x or even more. And it requires some work and being open-minded and willing to try things. So it takes a lot of my attention. Yeah. But there's a lot of things that we do, that I do. But this is one thing that's always on my mind recently.
Awesome. Second question, what is something that you're proud of that is not on your social media?
That I'm proud of that is not on social media?
Yeah.
I think one thing I'm proud of, I was the first person to push within our organization to use a cursor. It was at the beginning a bit hard because people like they do something and they're used to do it in a single way.
Yep.
And now that I see that even we have sales and support people using Cursor for different use cases, and it's very passed through me. So I'm proud of that. I'm happy that it's happening. And now sometimes we have much better tools than that even, and people are taking it forward and the whole organization is shifting. And this is something I'm happy that we did, and I feel I was a part of it.
That's awesome, man. And the final question, what's your favorite cuisine or restaurant that you can share with us?
Oh, so I live in Tel Aviv. There's a restaurant called Nam.
Okay.
It's great.
N-A-M?
N-A-M.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's awesome. I remember the first time I went there, and until then I weren't a foodie person, and I was like eating just because you need to eat, and I liked good food, but then I tasted spices that I never tasted before, and I was like, whoa. So it's like a mixture of Asian cuisines. I'm not sure how to describe it. I definitely recommend if people are in the area to go and try that one.
Awesome. I'll put that in the list as well, man. And where can people find you on the internet to connect with you and talk more about the whole AI native AppSec platforms and the work that you guys are doing?
So First, for me, you can always ping me on LinkedIn or wherever. I will just answer to you, so feel comfortable. I also have a website, amitchita.com, with links for everything.
Oh, nice.
And for like Mend, you can either come for me to talk about Mend. We also have a website, and we're very responsive to anyone that contact us. We're here for you guys.
Awesome. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. But thank you so much for spending time with us, man. And looking forward to hopefully talking more about as this conversation evolves about AI. Looking forward to talking more about it as well. But thanks everyone for joining in as well, and thank you, Amit, as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks for hosting me. Bye, everyone.
For listening and watching this episode of Cloud Security Podcast. If you've been enjoying content like this, you can find more episodes like these on www.cloudsecuritypodcast.tv. We are also publishing these episodes on social media as well, so you can definitely find these episodes there. Oh, by the way, just in case there was interest in learning about AI cybersecurity, we also have a sister podcast called AI Cybersecurity Podcast, which may be of interest as well. I'll leave the links in the description for you to check them out. And also for our weekly newsletter, where we do in-depth analysis of different topics within cloud security, ranging from identity, endpoint, all the way up to what is the CNAP or whatever a new acronym that comes out tomorrow. Thank you so much for supporting, listening, and watching. I'll see you next time.